Right, out and about for Nutrien Equine standardbreds, catching up with Pat Driscoll. Firstly, thank you very much for joining me, Pat.
It's a pleasure. It's good to join you, Paul, on this nice Sunday.
Want to get out and get around a few of the places and make people aware of who they are. Like Nutrien have come on board, they've done some great things, but try and raise awareness of some of the people behind the scenes that are really helping them along. And I thought I better start at the top. I better come and get an interview with you, which you're a little bit reluctant to do from time to time.
Oh yeah, we have some good people around us. So Anton's, very knowledgeable, a great trainer, and loves his breeding, and so we tend to refer to him or Louise if it's, harassed the trotter stud matter. So yeah.
How have you found the experience so far? It's only early, but how have you found it so far?
With Nutrien?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we were very pleased with last year's results, the way they went about it, the attention to detail. For a first sale, I thought it was phenomenal. Couldn't speak any more highly of Mark. His integrity's first class. Really leaves no stone unturned to make things happen.
And from the selling point of view, with your horses, you topped the sale, which was an Australian record, which one you'd have to be very, very proud of.
Yeah, it was nice. It was the first time I believe that the trotters out-averaged the paces, and we did quite well. But that is to do with obviously Nutrien, and also the team behind Harassed the Trotters. I've got to thank Anton and Sarah for that. We shut down the racing barn for a month to help us sort of get the yearlings over the line. So yeah, that was good of them.
It was a new experience too, wasn't it? Like, I was there doing live yearling parades, something that hadn't happened before, to try and get the message out there for people. It was really ramped up, which is exciting and fun. Yeah,
well, that's the idea. If you have nice horses for sale, you want to do a nice promotion. So we're just trying to, do as best we can. We're fortunate in that we've got a reasonable number, so we can have an on-farm event. And even during COVID, it was well attended and well put together. So I was quite pleased how it all went.
Yeah, a bit of different, and it keeps rolling on from there. They've had a couple of online sales, which your horse has sold very well at, so it's an ongoing thing. As far as your support with Nutrien, it's not just providing horses for them. You actually came on as a major sponsor for the first couple of years, especially for the race series.
Just going back to the online sales, I have been pushing Mark quite a bit because I think there's a great opportunity in market there. Currently, it's quarterly. I think the sales are going to be, but I'd love to Nutrien to get to a situation where they're quite happy to do it bi-monthly. And I think one of the things that are missing at the moment is an avenue to sell your horse, whether it be a gelding or a mare or a foal or whatever it is. And I think as I know they're putting a lot of money into developing their software, and I think you'll see a lot of advancements in that area. And I think that it's one of the things that is missing in harness. You go to the thoroughbreds and English do it well. You go to New Zealand and NZB do it very well. And it just gives you that medium of where you can sell your horse that's reliable, easy, quick, efficient.
It's got to be taken a little bit differently. We'll stay on those online sales just as well, because, and I think you highlighted it, you had myself, Bianca and Louise, plus all the staff, parading 4 weanlings, taking photos of the mares. People need to embrace, it's an online sale. Don't just say, right, I'm going to sell Pat Driscoll and people are going to know it. You've got to be able to promote it and push it out there as well. Really step it up another notch, and that showed with that last sale with the ones that you were selling.
Yeah, I guess I pore over the English sites looking at the thoroughbreds, the mares and the fillies, and they do it very, very well every couple of weeks, and it's pretty easy to copy something that's successful. And all I tried to do was copy what I saw as being successful with the English online sales. So and I think if people embrace it, it'll just go from strength to strength.
Yeah, and I agree with you. One of the knocks is, where do we sell them and all the rest? Well, this could be a ready-made platform that's there. people get used to it, and it's ready to use.
Yeah, and it's addictive.
Yep. Well, it is indeed. There was a record. What was it? 4.1 million for a thoroughbred mare. So people might say, well, you only sell your lesser ones. That's rubbish because that mare was a superstar mare that sold just recently. So
yeah, no, all the better ones are going online. They still have the traditional sales,
Yep.
and you can't sort of beat that. But yeah, not every horse is ready for the traditional sale, and no matter the quality, it's amazing now.
I'd love to know the person that hit the keyboard on that 4.1 million. I reckon they would have been shaken when they were going. It's a little bit easier to put a finger up than put a finger on a keyboard, perhaps.
I think they bought half a dozen, so I don't think they were shaking too much.
Your commitment, as I said, alluded to there before, you are the major sponsor going forward. So you have a 2-year commitment now with Nutrien going forward, sponsoring the race series. That, I think from Nutrien's point of view, is a thank you for a start, but you must really embrace this whole sales series and the way it's going, because it's quite a large investment that you're putting into this race series.
Yeah, I was pleased to support Nutrien. The guys like Craig Judd and Shannon Nixon and Brett Coffey put a lot of work into it. And when we first started out, all I wanted to do was support the sale. The younger guys, it's their industry, and they've worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make things happen with Mark. So all I've done is provide a little bit of cash for the trotters, just to make it interesting. And I think, hopefully over time we can build on that. And when I first got into the industry, you couldn't buy a good trotter. You had to, you could buy something that no one else wanted. You could go to New Zealand and maybe pick up something half nice. What I wanted to create, and I think for the industry to go forward, and it doesn't matter whether it's pacers or trotters, is to provide a product that everyone wants, and at different levels. So hence last year we put up all our horses. So the idea is that, and I think we have a nice broodmare band. If you want the horse, you can buy it. And obviously I put reserves on some, and some were a lot less than others, but going forward we'll still put nearly all our, probably all our horses in again. And the ones I keep, I might put a higher reserve on, but at the end of the day, if Paul Campbell wants lot 204 and is prepared to pay for it, you'll take it home. Because one of the things that, as I said, annoyed me initially is you couldn't buy a horse, particularly what you thought was a good horse.
Yep.
So, so that's one of the reasons we've been supporting a sale like that.
With the last sale, and I know, and I can't remember the lot number, so it doesn't matter, I won't get in trouble, but you actually walked past and you said, I took a hit on that horse, to prove that you actually were there to sell them. That's one of the things that you have to do, isn't it? Like you undersold it for unders, you actually had a higher value on it, but you decided, well, I'll let it go so people know I'm fair income about it, to actually sell these horses. It's a hard part of your business.
Yeah, initially I thought, if I want to keep some fillies, I'll keep them, but Anton was pretty adamant. He said the good farms in America, if they sell everything, and then they buy them, they might put a high reserve, or they let them race and then buy them back off the track off someone else. So he was probably instrumental in saying, okay, everything goes in. And so everything goes in, and then you go, I think I have a good idea of what the reserve should be, but I'm also conscious you got to help a sale, like particularly in that the first session, it was a bit low and people were a bit sort of not used to, bidding in a new sale. So I let a few horses go that, probably should have been a bit high. But that said, we got to pack the next day, because people then know they're genuine. If they bid, there's a very good chance that they'll finish up with the horse. And
that, like your sale topper, that's exciting what happened with him, because I mean he's basically bred for the Vic Bred Pure. So he'll stay here, he'll race here. So from harassed to trotter's point of view, it's going to be great to see him progress through. Hopefully you don't have to race him, hopefully, and the likes, but he can go on to be a sire, and that'll be the next stage, I suppose, in you guys' development.
Yeah, it's a bit, on the Vic Bred Pure, I think it's a bit hard. Like, it's very difficult to make a sire, even with a lot of different horses. When I was with Mr. Dubois in France, one of the best breeders in the world, and he has access to the best genetics, the best mares, and he even struggles to make good sires. Like, they come when they come.
Yep.
So let's hope the horse does well, but I think it's a far stretch to say, okay, you can put a couple of horses in a sale, they can top, and then they can become a sire. Yeah, you need a lot of numbers and you need a lot of luck. So that's not saying it can't happen, but to me, it's probably a little bit of fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting my realistic hat on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. So what you're actually saying is to go and say you're going to buy a sire that'll be standing at stud can be sometimes a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
As compared to going to other races and saying, right, well, that horse is a proven racehorse.
Well, first of all, have to proven racehorse, and even a proven racehorse doesn't necessarily mean a good sire. And if you look at the thoroughbred guys, because a lot of the ideas come out of there, they might spend 10, 20 million on 20 or 30 top animals that they think will be a siring potential, and of those 10 or 20, 5 or 6 will make it, 10 will make it to the track, 5 or 6 will be good, 1 will make it as a sire. Now, will it actually be any good as a sire? So the stats are, enormous.
Yeah.
So
I've never actually looked at it or thought about it that way, but that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a different way. I like the way the thoroughbreds do a lot of things, and that's starting to come in here into the standardbreds.
Yes,
isn't it? A lot of what they do as far as targeting races and certain size races for people.
Yeah, what you find is that the Australian thoroughbreds industry, and hats off to them, they're one of the best in the world, if not the best. Great racing, great breeding. So we've got a very, and even the syndications, for example, we've got great models to follow. So there's not much point, I don't think, going out and trying to create things outside of a model that's very successful.
No.
So that's why I tend to look a lot to the thoroughbreds, and particularly how they do it here in Australia.
With your commitment with the sales, $62,500 for the colts and for the fillies, 2 separate races in the first year, and then in the second year there'll also be $125,000 3-year-old races, which equates to $375,000 which is huge money, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. But I mean, to be fair, I've got a self-interest. I'm selling a bunch of what I hope are nice thoroughbreds. Standardbreds, yeah. And so I think what I've been a little bit annoyed with, I guess, that the trotters get left behind. So rather than sponsor a race here and a race there, what I've done is consolidate a lot, into, say, the 2 3-year-old races, where, they're currently the highest, money stake races for age trotters. And I'll continue to support that, because I think without it, we're not going to get to the next level. We've got to make it exciting for people that are coming in. We've got to make it exciting for people that are there to want them to do more. And I think it's very easy to get left behind. If you look at some of the other codes, they're doing a lot of things at the moment. And I think to do, in my small way, or harass the trotter's small way, if we can add to that little bit of excitement, then we're doing our bit for the industry and for the trotters.
It's really, I love it, and there's a little bit of a tease, and it's not 100%, but it's also maybe coming a bit back to the country going forward as well. So it's not going to be an elitist race, like it's going to be for the people of the state. No,
talking to Mark, and as I said, I leave a lot of the other stuff to the guys, the younger guys, and Mark. I think they're hoping to bring it to a regional centre like Ballarat, Bendigo, Geelong, something like that, to really showcase the races. And as it builds, there should be a lot of not Group 1, because I don't believe sales races should be group races. Like in the thoroughbreds, they're more listed. Even if they're $5 million, they're listed races, I think, but they're not Group 1. So because at the end of the day, they are restricted. And I think where a race is restricted, a la the homegrown, they shouldn't be Group 1. So it's great to have them, don't get me wrong, but they should be listed at best. I think as the series grows, there'll be a lot of very well, moneyed group listed races in these country centres.
It's you've got a couple of mates I know that have just sat up and said yes, because there's a few people that are just get a little bit cranky about the amount of Group 1s we have that are restricted to horses. Like there'd be better horses that can't go in those races, but they don't ever get a Group 1 next to their name because of they weren't bred at Rasta Trotters or something along those lines. It's cool what you just said. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's rocket science. It's not counting the race money and the prize money they put up for certain races. Just don't call them Group 1s or Group 2s.
No, definitely not. Right, there's a few other sides to Rasta Trotters, and that's one of the things I want to be able to promote. One, you've brought out a stay-in this season, first shuttle sire to come to Australia. Classic Connection. You've also got Used to Me standing here. So one, marketing those has been a little bit of a challenge. You've got a great idea with Classic Connection that if you win a race as a 2-year-old, not a 2-year-old race, and this is one thing I keep telling people, is if you win a race as a 2-year-old, you will get a $3,000 bonus, but from Rasta Trotters basically. So he's a $5,000 service fee. You'll get $3,000 back if he wins a 2-year-old race. Sorry, so I said it again, a race as a 2-year-old, and you get that $3,000 back. But the great kicker of this, it's not the person that wins that race, it's the person who actually comes to you, takes the risk with you, pays you for the service fee, they get that $3,000 back.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Paul. I mean, in a lot of jurisdictions around the world, they offer breeder bonuses. For some reason, we don't do that here at Victorian Harness Racing. So I wanted to introduce that. So the idea is he stands for 5,000. You get $500 off if you belong to an association like the Trotters or New South Wales, or in New Zealand it's the Breeders Association. So it's good to belong to association, and then the breeding bonus then comes into play if you win any TAB race as a 2-year-old. What we've also introduced, because we're trying to make it work for everyone. I think I'm hopefully not stealing Bianca's thunder, is that we're going to also make it a choice to the breeder. They can have that, or they can have $1,000 off. So at the end of the day, it'll come down to 3.5 plus gist, or 4.5, and take your chance of winning a race if you want to back yourself and the mare in. And you'll get it for $1,500, and there's multiple discounts on top of that.
I saw that released the other day actually, and there's another one that's been released too. But that gives people a choice, and as you say, then if you want to back yourself, and you can have a little bit of a punt each way, and which we all do. People turn around and say they don't bet. I'll tell you, I don't bet. But you do, because you take a punt with a lot of money, and it's great. He's a proven sire. He's by love. Well, he's not a proven sire, but he's by love you. He's got all the right crosses too. It's not like he's a nothing. He's actually a quality horse. Yeah,
I love you as a sire, one of the best in the world, obviously, and he really is a sire of sires, a la Quaker Jet, and he's got a lot of really nice sons, siring nice horses throughout Europe, and even to a lesser extent in just starting to go to stud in the USA, and I love sires that have proven records of siring sons, a la Volstead with Camtap Hall. I just think it just takes a little bit of the guesswork out of the equation, and Classic Connections out of a very good mare, US 2-year-old of the year, and I think she also ran third in the Hamiltonian Oaks out of a great family. Unfortunately, I wanted to buy the horse outright, but fortunately, Mr. Dubois wanted to stay in. So it'll shuttle backwards and forwards. So on one part, it would have been great to have him down here to save the expense. On the other side, the fact that one of the best breeders in the world, or probably the best breeder of trotters, wants to keep him to breed to his non-French mares.
I was going to say it's a bittersweet thing. You don't actually get the horse, but you sort of do get the horse in a way. Used to Me, the job he's doing, you must be wrapped in him and what he's been able to achieve. Yeah,
he's done a really good job. We started off with very low numbers initially, and he's never got our better mare. Like Volstead's got some really nice mares. Classic Connection, we'll get some nice mares. Always Ready, we'll come back to him. His first mare was bred yesterday, and it was Arbo. First collection. So, but yeah, with Used to Me, we've always, if that horse is a bit crazy or it's a bit something, we use Used to Me. So we always knew he was, potentially going to be a nice sire, but I think he's turning out to be a great value sire. So we'll continue to put mares to him, and again, because of Classic and because of Always Ready, he mightn't get our best, but he just keeps producing a really nice horse, like Don't Care, the one that we we gifted to the Terrain Trotting Club through APG. That's a great story. I'm Set to Go, and we've actually got a full sister to I'm Set to Go called La Perriere, which Anton thinks is very, very good. So it hasn't started. It's two. It hasn't started yet. We'll give her a bit of time, and she probably won't start until February, March next year. So he's doing a super job, and they tend to run early, late, and they just trot. So
I'm Set to Go. Like, she's one of the best mares in the state racing at the minute. Don't care. Group 1 winner in his first season. Done a terrific job, and incidentally was a cheap buy because I think he's 7,000. Was that right? Or 11,
no, probably 11. I think
11,000 he was for the Nutrien Harness Club. While we're on the Nutrien Harness Club, they've actually got a raffle as well, which they have. First prize is a raffle ticket, a prize to use to me. So free service fee to use to me. Yeah,
I love the way that they go about it. The Nutrien Harness Club. There's a lot of volunteers down there, and every time they ring up, you feel a bit obligated to help them because, they're really passionate people. And it's a pleasure to just do a little bit to help them. And I know they have the stallion tenders, but this is a way they can have the whole lot.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's up to them how they utilise it. So rather than be part of the stallion tenders, we thought we'd just offer them a free service.
And you gave the VSCA one to Classic Connection. I don't need that. I'll just leave that there. It'll be fine. That's actually closed, so there's no point us promoting it too much. We're actually going to do a raffle draw here in the next week or two, so to see who actually the winner is. But I think that contribution, so you don't only... I think a lot of people weren't even aware of the fact that you gave a $500 discount if they were a member of these as free associations. So I think that was one of the things that really took people back there as well. So
I think you should belong. You don't have to be active, but you should belong to so it's a voice.
$20, I think, for the VSCA.
It's not. I reckon they should put it up, but that's another story. So that and the New South Wales Trotters Association as well.
Yep.
Because I think it's good to belong, so that every now and again, when you get something that you want to have a strong opinion of, or your association does, then you've got the numbers behind you to have a little bit of clout.
We'll get on the New South Wales in a minute too, because they're doing some good things, and Queensland as well with their trot, and you've got horses there as well. Always ready. Super 3-year-old, super 4-year-old, back racing. He had a little bit of a let up, but he's back now, ready to race again, but also collecting and serving mares. You said there before. That's going to be another exciting part of where the farm's coming from.
Yeah, Anton has a lot of time for this horse. He was a very natural 2-year-old. He has very good temperament. He's obviously a son of Reddy Cash.
Yep.
He came back last year and he competed quite okay. Came back this year and he never quite looked right. So in the end, we sent him up to Benstud, tipped him out, sent him up to Benstud for a month, and brought him back a couple of weeks ago, and he's done really, really well up there. He's back in work, and now he's got one extra duty. So we'll be, sending him to some choice mares from the farm this year.
It's something that the Europeans do a lot of. The Americans don't, but it's quite interesting here in Australia. There's a few farms now starting to try and keep them racing and also breed from, and it works like when I did the Stallion parade with Anton. He said there that he collected used to me 3 times the week that he won at Melton. It doesn't affect their racing performance, and it just helps them go along. Yeah,
because they're not natural served, that they can do it, and obviously, as you said, in Europe, it's very, very common. They all do it.
Yeah.
Anton's had a lot of European experience, so hence we started doing it.
Right. So there's a at the minute. I'm not sure you're aware of this. You will be aware of it, but just was released the other day that if you go onto the Harastra Trotters website and do the test mating and go up there, you go in the chance for a draw to win a service fee to either Use to Me or Classic Connection as well. Yep. So it's another thing. That's only for this month. It finishes at the month of October, but it's another great incentive that you guys have come up with.
Yeah, I think it always helps to have a look at. I'm a bit of a pedigree nut. Doesn't mean I know anything, but I spend hours and hours looking at it, looking at the pedigrees and that type of thing. And so we've got both test mating and stallion selector on the website. And the idea is if you go in, match your mare up, because when you match them out, we get an email, so we know that's your entrance, if you like, to go into the competition, and then match it up with whatever stallion you wish, and then a chance to win either a service to either use to me or classic, and that's Australia and New Zealand. So there'll be two draws, if you like, and I think what doesn't happen enough down here, we need a bit more imagination with our sales, our breedings, rather than say, oh, it's $3,000 to go to Billy.
Yep.
Just mix it up a bit, have a bit of fun with it, and I think that's what I tried to do that with the yearling sales, offering a rebate to the New Zealand guys. Here, a breeder's bonus, and then the stallion selectors, so people start looking at that. I think it's an important part of a horse's makeup. Obviously, physical's important as well, but it's a little bit more an activity that a breeder can do to feel good about what they're doing.
Do you enjoy looking at things differently? I think the answer is yes, but
yeah, I think there's so many opportunities and so many things, and it gets a bit boring to do the standard things. I mean, some things, they're not broken, so you follow the rules and do them. But I think where there's an opportunity to create something and do something a little bit different that might advance the trotter or the industry, I think it's should be adopted.
Frozen semen and collecting, selling frozen semen, it can be a little bit tricky. You guys have got a huge draft. I'm not even going to try and rattle them off, but I will put the slide up of them all at the minute. It's not as scary as what people think it is, though, is it? Like when people see frozen semen, I think a lot of people go, oh, but it's a lot easier every year.
Yeah, I think, if you want access to the better genetics, you can't always, people won't let their best horse, be shipped down here, even from a shuttle point of view. So to get access to the, the best or the better genetics, we've got to use frozen. And the way I look at it, I think it's important to use the best vet available, and it's not everyone's cup of tea to do frozen. And even sometimes those who do it, unless they're prepared to scan the mare regularly, etc., and that might vary from year to year in their staff and their situations, it does affect the results. So I don't think it's scary, and it allows us to have this variety of stallions. Like I think I checked the other day, we're hopeful of getting a bunch of Breedy Cash sons this month. I mean, we were hopeful last year and it didn't quite eventuate, but we're talking half a dozen, not in great numbers.
Yep.
But they're just dominant all over the world at the moment. And it'd be great to have access to these horses. Now, it's not for everyone, but I think that we get quite good results with the thanks to Sarah and doing all the scanning, and the guys here, we get good results, and there's other good vets that do the same. So in the end, what we've found is we restrict the number of places where they can get this semen. When I first started out in the trotting, I wanted to try and breed the best, even though I couldn't buy the best mares, so you did what you did. And the guy Williams down in Terang was the best at it, so I shipped all my mares from Benstud in Shepparton down there. They got in foal. So it depends on what your bent is, so if you want the better horses, and there are some nice chilled options, don't get me wrong, but in theory, the access to the wider and better genetics, then frozen's the way to go.
Yeah, and like you got horses like Bold Eagle that will never come here.
No.
But you've got a chance of being able to serve to him.
Correct, yeah, and then there's Eridan, Tomoko, the list just goes on and on. So and Brilliantism, Bird Parker, there's some of the ones hopefully that'll come this October.
Yep.
In limited numbers. So, but you get a chance to really breed a world-class horse.
So people can get in touch with Louise to start discussing about those horses?
We're just taking expressions of interest because, last year with Bold, we had a lot of bookings, and they ended up tipping his semen out, which is a bit unfortunate because, it was contaminated. So that hurt. So we're just taking, and when, as I said, it's due in October, but let's wait and see.
Wait till it gets here.
Yeah.
You said there before you about a pedigree nut. Do you just love the stallion side of things? Is that the side that you really like, or the mares?
Oh, both. And I get just as passionate about the thoroughbreds and mixing it up and having a look and seeing what works. You know, and you'll get people equally as much who could go to a sale and they go, no, I'm not looking at the book. I want to look at every individual horse and I'll pick one out. And I think the answer is somewhere in between.
Yep.
You know, so I might look at all the pedigrees, but I'd never go, I don't know enough physically about it. So from a trotter point of view, Anton would go and have, you know, if we're buying, he'd go and have a look and probably put a line through half of them and say, well, these are the ones that have 4 legs and move okay. So, yeah.
One sec. Well, yeah. So I never edit.
Yeah.
But I just had to because we just ran out of power because I did have a long time to go. But this, I'm really enjoying this this chat, and it goes a long way. We were just saying there before that you know, Anton's big on the way they look, but also the pedigrees. You pick up a catalogue and you go, you know, especially yours. I found yours a little bit hard. Yours 2 German horses in it. I found it hard, but it's also exciting to get these different stallions coming into our pedigrees, and when you got to pick up a catalogue, the Nutrien catalogue, and you go to flick through it, it's exciting. You must love that part of it.
I do, and just on the German horses or the Swedish horses, most of the horses are bred in France or Sweden. They just happen to be registered in a jurisdiction that's friendly at the time. So that's why you get German horses and, you know, all those different types of registrations, you know, Denmark, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't. Yeah, and and you enjoy that side of it though.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, I think the variety is key, and one of the things we're quite fortunate in Australia and New Zealand, we don't really realise. When I was talking to Philip Allaire one year, he said, "Oh, wouldn't it be fantastic to do, you know, to have not a closed book." And to be able to, you know, put paces over trotters, trotters over paces, and do all these sorts of things. So over there, they're quite restrictive. Like, even though it's a closed book, they can't have, I think it's more than 52% American blood in their makeup. There's so many rules. So here, you know, we have a few rules, which is good. But one of the things Philip wanted to do was put ready cash over a pacing mare. And to get a pacer, not a trotter, I'm hoping for a filly and hope it's going to be a trotter. And that's Sounds of Cash, who actually won again on Friday night in Addington. So it's all these things that make it really, really exciting. So I can't wait to breed from her. You know, and the smart thing to do would probably send her to a pacer, but initially I'll be sending her back to a trotter to see if I can working on that, and just little things like that. We've got a Quaker Jet filly foal out of a full sister to Mr. What's his name? John McCarthy's got a Mr. Zing Zam.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's a full sister, so got a Quaker Jet filly out of
Shannon Nixon, is that the one, Mr. Zing Zam? No?
No, I'm not too sure who owns it. I know John McCarthy
trains it.
Did train it, yeah. So it's doing those little things, and if you look where it's coming, if you look at the horse that won the Hamiltonian, he's out of her. Yeah, so it's all these things we can do down here, like we talk about the Franco-American cross, and that's only the start. And we've got these, and a lot of people used to say, oh, but a lot of our stock's from old paces, it's this and that. But I see that as an opportunity. And the rest of the world, I think will see it as an opportunity down the track for the, you know, not for any old one, but for the, like if you look at La Cucaracha, you know, her stock. And there's a lot of other examples. I mean, she's a well-known one, but there's lots of others where, you know, there's a really nice trotting family coming out of a pacing family.
Wayne Schultz's family, so 4 big men across the road, Emma and Clayton. It's the next generation back. He went to Armbro Operative, he went to Sundon. He went to Armbro Operative, he went to Sundon. Aleppo Murphy, Aleppo Midas, and there's another one. The 3 champion trotters, or not champion, but very, very good trotters and all the rest. And then there's this pacing line with 4 big men and another big man who goes quite good. Breeding's cool. It's a lot of fun, and people really should look at it and have a bit of fun with it, shouldn't they? Oh,
exactly. And one of the people early doors, who was riding, if you look at the Maori family, that was dual gated. So I've spent a bit of time talking to Brian Healy, and then when I went to New Zealand, to Mark Smith, and obviously bred Lyle Creek out of a pacing family. So I actually think, believe it or not, I know I love my French horses and American horses, and they go over each other, but I think there's some outstanding opportunities here, mixing that up with these, what I call old pacing families. You know, the ones that, you know, have produced a Lyell Creek, that have produced a, you know, Mary's Idol, that have produced, you know, you talk about the Aleppo horses. And then what's the current one from the In the Pocket mare that's running around at the moment?
Yep. Mick Barbie will tell us off, and there's a few other people. But yeah, I know the horse.
No, yeah. Peter Manning's
horses, Chubbs. The Chubbs horses, yeah.
So there, you know, there's another opportunity. And what I think, and then, you know, you look at Crouch Dior, he's had a very nice American mare that I imported as a weanling. So you have this pot puree of trotting genetics, if you like, down here, and we're probably one of the most fortunate countries in the world in relation to it. So you put some really nice frozen semen sires with them, and even chilled, and you mix that all up. I think in the next 20 years, some of the things we're going to see is going to be phenomenal.
Absolutely. Captain Crunch was a horse you were talking about before that was in America, and Aki's from Sweden, but he told the Swedish to buy his sire, didn't he? Because about how good this horse is, and he is pacing bred.
Yeah.
And I heard one of the American commentators said if there was a knock on that horse, that he couldn't quite get around the bends because he was still at that pacing gait. One more generation, and you get a horse like Captain Crunch. Anyone's watched him. He's just a phenomenal style of trotter. He's just brilliant to watch, isn't he?
Yeah. So it's doing those sort of things. That's what, you know, interests me.
Yep.
A little bit like we have another one called a Ring A Flair that. Anton had one of the relations of her with Noel Daly in the States, really loved the horse. So we picked her up for 8,000. James Rattray has done a great job with her up in New South Wales. Now she's out of a pacing family, is another one. So, you know, I'd love to put her to a horse like Bold Eagle next. Do you know what I mean? And she's by the Muscle Yankee horse down on Yankee Spider.
Yankee Spider, yeah.
Yeah, so, So it's doing things like that I think is interesting. And it's a bit left, but I think that it's just some wonderful opportunities here.
Absolutely. And I think the way the trotters are growing and the growth of the trotters, I saw Mark gave me a message there before. I think about 40% of the sale here in Melbourne next year will be trotters, which is enormous. That's how much the trotting are actually growing.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about across the road, Emma and Clayton. 5 years ago, they wouldn't have had one.
Yeah.
Now I'd hate to think how many they've got there in their camp, and they definitely try them. The growth of the trotters, a lot of the reason it's grown is because of this imported semen, both from America, Sweden, France, and all these other areas. Proposed stallion tax, it was asked of us last year, and thankfully was knocked on the head. That would have had a huge effect on the ability to be able to bring a lot of these semen in and be able to utilise them.
Yeah, particularly the way it was put together. For us, we would have just went private. To be fair, it was going to have that big an effect on what we do.
Yep.
So I really supported the limited books. It's done everywhere, you know, nearly everywhere else in the major jurisdictions around the world. To my knowledge, stallion tax isn't. To my knowledge, they don't do a Vic bred pure anywhere in the world. So I don't know why we're doing certain things. I mean, I'm all for change and having a crack at doing things differently, but there's a lot of really good racing jurisdictions around the world. If it hasn't happened and worked there, I don't know why it should be imposed here. So I get a little bit frustrated with certain aspects. Like, I love some of the decisions. I love the idea of our races being put back, you know, for the key age races back to October, November, December. I think that's the biggest benefit I've seen since I've been here.
Yep.
I just love that idea. It gives them more time to develop. It's a better time of year. It's not the middle of winter. So really commend HRV on that, because they led the way. But on some of the others, I think it benefits a few. And what I like is a level playing field, and I think then it allows people to make up their mind. I think with you know, we're talking about the colonial stallions, and they said it was popular, but in reality, if they put the extra money onto the extra bonus on the chestnuts would have been popular.
Yep.
So it's just it's just one of those things. And I think, and this is probably putting my trotting hat on more than a pacing hat. And don't get me wrong, I think for trotters to be successful, pacing's got to be successful. But one of the things I saw in relation to the colonial stallions is a big shift in the amount of cash, and I haven't done the numbers on it, just a gut feel, that there'd be proportionally a lot more pacing mares bred to colonial stallions, if you call them, compared to trotters. So all of a sudden, if we have a pot of, $1 million rather than being proportional or 2 million, it's starting to get skewed quite a bit.
To the thoroughbred, to the paces.
To the paces, yeah. And I think, things that do that aren't beneficial to the industry as a whole. Do you know what I mean?
To keep trying to grow it.
Yeah.
You find it a little bit frustrating as well because last season, breeding numbers, it was one of our biggest breeding season for a long, long time too.
Yeah.
And yet all of a sudden they try to change it a little bit and try to take control of it.
Yeah, as I said, I really supported and I was vocal in relation to the limited books. And before that could even get settled, and I feel for some of the guys like, some of the larger studs that had longer contracts, before it could get settled, it was onto a stallion tax, then onto colonial. And I don't think that was necessarily great for the industry. I know numbers went up, but the season was extended and there was a lot of what I call COVID cash around last year. So, so I'm really into a level playing field, and it gives people the opportunity to do whatever they want. I know some of the arguments are put up with it, all the money goes back overseas, but if I look at Volstead, who we didn't bring back this year because of it, we had an agreement with Mr. Miller that we'd share the expenses and the revenue, and the revenue never matched the expenses.
Which is scary.
Yeah, it is, but it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? So it's not the pot of gold. Better's Delight, it might have been a pot of gold, but good luck to Woodlands for picking that out. But the majority of them, you actually don't.
No.
What I've found is you don't actually make any money on them. So, the idea is to make money overall. But, so I think that it was probably poorly conceived, and it benefited a few. And as I said, thrown in with the colonial, bonus, that extra bonus plus the tax, what you're doing is really creating a big divide. And as I said, we just go private and just sell our horses and withdraw from the breeding, the stallion side of things.
You mentioned Better's Delight there, and people say about Woodlands. Sorry, my other hat, and I called them the wrong name. How much trouble am I going to get in from Mark? But what a lot of people don't realise, and we're not going to go into it here, they actually took a very big punt. There was a little bit of a waylay. So people turn around and say, they just bought the best horse and paid dividends and they just take all the money. That's actually not what happened. They took a fair, substantial punt at the time, but it paid off for them. We want people to come into our industry and keep punting, like we say, keep punting, keep bringing different horses in and not have to worry about added birds if it works. Good luck to them.
Well, even at the moment, there's still conjecture about will it come in. Now, I've got my eye on a couple of stallions that I'd love to either purchase the Southern Hemisphere rights, or if I was lucky enough at the right to purchase them. And there's no way known you're going to invest in a stallion with this hanging over your head.
Yep.
Absolutely no way known. So, and some of the things that I'm looking at are a lot smaller than a Woodlands and that type of thing. So, if I can't get my head around it, I don't know how, they would in relation to future purchases.
Yep.
And to say it's not going to affect breeding is just, it's just rubbish.
You wear a couple of hats. I kept constantly getting told that Pat's out. He's going to the thoroughbreds. He's going 100% of the thoroughbreds. You really enjoy the thoroughbreds. I know you do. You pretty much said you're a breeding nut. Which one do you enjoy the most?
I like them both for different reasons. I like the fact that, we're such a tiny little fish, like when we do something in the thoroughbreds, it's totally unnoticed and you do whatever. And, there's probably a lot of politics and everything goes on the thoroughbreds, but we're that far down the ladder, it doesn't matter. So I like the internationalisation of the thoroughbreds, in that you can, pick a mare or a stallion from all over the world and try and create whatever you want to create.
Yep.
I like the trotting, because I just like the nice majestic gait on them and that type of thing, and I see enormous potential. Sometimes you never utilise or reach that potential or develop that potential. Like it gave us a great thrill when Majestic Player went to the States, and he ended up being the fastest trotter ever bred in Australasia. So that was cool.
Do you still own him?
No. We sold him through Dean Braun, and I don't mind selling a horse. I get just as much kick out of someone else winning. Like we sold that nice colt to Andy and Kate, the Love You, Central Ontario, and it was great. He went on, that's what it's all. That's what I want to do. I want to, I love breeding, and Anton loves developing. So if we can get to a stage where, hopefully we put a reserve on, 3 or 4 that don't make it to come back, so it allows Anton to develop, those particular horses, and then the rest go on to, be good horses. It's fantastic. And in the thoroughbreds, it's a real challenge, and I think that where the trotters have to get better, or the harness is the entertainment side, because I have a few guys in a few horses on the thoroughbreds and the trotters, and I'm always getting asked on the thoroughbreds, can we come in on your next one and your next one? And it's not so much that it's about, we're going to get a Winx. It's more about the entertainment side. So I've always said for a long time that racing is entertainment.
Yep.
So what I would love, HRV to get better at is that entertainment side.
Yep.
Like, build something nice, which I think they're doing at Melton. So when you win a race, you can be seen to be nice. That it's those little things that
one percenters.
Yeah, the 1%ers that people want to be associated with, because the reality is, most horse racing, no matter what it is, I know it's various levels, you lose money on. So it's just, whether you buy your boat or have a horse or take an overseas holiday, to me it's all about entertainment. And if you do it right, you can enjoy it, and it's a great, it's a great sport.
The end of the season, you said there before about how you enjoy it, how they've changed the season, and now we race right through till the end of December. As far as an entertainment point of view, and we can't do it right at the minute because of COVID, obviously, and it doesn't look like we're going to be able to, but that's the sort of thing we've got to start thinking differently about how we sell our bigger nights, our bigger days, even in the country, some of the country tracks as well.
Yeah, I think so, and I'd pick out some. It's hard to do it to all. Do you know what I mean? And particularly initially, so you might pick out half a dozen events and a couple of key ones, and you go. It's a bit like the Melbourne Cup. Carnival, that everyone from all over the world, wants to come and be here in Victoria when that's on.
Yep.
There's no reason over time, it's not going to happen tomorrow, that they can't pick 2 or 3 dates out and see if they can develop a carnival to a international level.
You've got the trotters. We've got the Great Southern Star and the likes. You've seen a lot of races overseas. Is there a certain race type that you'd like to see perhaps developed over here, or
no? Not really. I think you need a season or a series to be fair. Whether, say, take the Southern Star, whether it's 2 heats or 2,700, I'd like to see tradition. Yep. Like keep it for what it's going to be, rather than chopping and changing. So that doesn't worry me whether it's 2 heats, the Swedish model, or whether it's 27 or something in between. It's hard to have something new because harness racing's been around a long time. But I think it's important to build that tradition, and to do it right. And I think over time, fund it correctly, and I think it becomes an event, and it becomes an event people want to be at and want to be seen at, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, there's a few other things going around the scenes, behind the scenes. Sorry, that might be able to change things up anyway and bring a bit more excitement. But mate, from a Nutrien point of view, I'm going to say thank you. I've loved the chat. You don't like a chat, I tell you, you're good at it though.
No.
I bet you I get a lot of feedback that says it's great, but you're very good to listen to, and I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate from a Nutrien point of view everything that you are doing for the Nutrien sale as well.
No, thanks, Paul, and I think as I've said a few times to you, what you offer the industry is phenomenal. So we're quite fortunate in the harness industry to have a person like yourself and your company out and about doing what you're doing. So just love your work and keep it up.
I definitely will. You'll be seeing from now on, or a lot of the time with the Nutrien badging, you'll see Harasta trotters, and that's basically because of the major sponsorship too. So that'll be badged together for predominantly most of the stuff, and get it out there. I look forward to the sales dates. I think we're at the 2nd of February, 3rd of April next year. There's a lot going on. There's going to be hopefully a ready to run sale as well going on. There might be some more online sales before that too. Bardo might be watching this right now and he might be going, I better start moving on that, or Pat will tell me off.
No, I think slowly, as they say, hasten slowly. So, but I do think, as I was saying earlier, it has a really good future down the track.
You don't gain momentum by one stride, is that right?
One step, yeah.
I wasn't far off. Pat Driscoll, thank you very much.
No, thanks, Paul. Cheers.